Breaking down the NBA schedule so you don't have to. Shout out to this article, which broke down a bunch of the key points for this season, which I'm going to share with you now. So first we have the national TV games broken down by which team has the most, and the team that has the most is the Lakers with 39. I don't think that's really surprising. I don't think it should be surprising. And number 2 is the Warriors. I also don't think that should be surprising either. Seems obvious. Celtics at 3. Sounds about right as well. And the Knicks at 4, although of course, over the last few years, this is a big increase. It 100% makes sense. I am not shocked there. Number 5 is the Mavericks. I'm a little bit shocked. Now, to be fair, I don't know how many games the Mavericks have had over these last few seasons. So maybe they've had close to 30 or 30 already. So I don't know. But obviously, because they went to the NBA Finals, they have Luka, they have Kyrie, they have a good team, and they added Klay Thompson. Actually, now that I think about it, they added Klay Thompson. So if they weren't at 30 before, it makes sense now. Because Klay Thompson being added to a Luka and Kyrie pairing is definitely must-see TV. The Suns at 30 also makes sense. You got Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, a team that is trying to make themselves championship contenders. So that makes sense. The Nuggets also make sense. Like, I feel like the national TV games are always probably going to make sense because, you know, they put the best teams or, you know, somewhat of the best teams on TV because that's what people want to see. So I'm pretty, like, this list doesn't surprise me. The Timberwolves are a little low to me. I guess it is a fair number, but Anthony Edwards is just so box office. I don't know, but it's not like they're that far away from like 30. So this part is really interesting to me, and I don't get how they determine this and what makes it fair, I guess. And I'm not one to say that everything has to be exactly equal because nothing is in life. Like, it's not like that in the world. But 11 teams are tied for the most back-to-backs with 16. And 6 teams are tied with the fewest with 13. So I'm curious how they determine that the Celtics, Bulls, Mavericks, Lakers, Magic, and Trailblazers get an advantage in this category. Get an advantage, excuse my grammar. A vowel with a word. Can't believe I just did that. And I know that this will make people mad, especially just because it's the Celtics and the Lakers are 2 of the teams that get the fewest back-to-backs, which I know will spark some conspiracy. But regardless, like, I'm not even thinking conspiracy. I'm just thinking, like, how do they determine which team gets the least back-to-backs? Like, I don't get how they determine that. Because with this day in the NBA, we see that it's coming down to the last games, which is what the NBA wants. But those, you know, fewer back-to-backs could determine it for some people. So, I don't know, that's interesting. Moving myself up so you could see, I want you to see that the positive residual. So basically they're talking about the 5, well, you'll see the list, but the 5 teams that have the easiest schedule based on all those factors. And those teams are Denver, Indiana, Orlando, Boston, and New York. And then oppositely, the toughest schedules are Portland, the Clippers, the Rockets, the Suns, and the Nets. Don't ask me why in the first one I literally said the state name, city name, whatever. And then the other one, I said the team name. I don't know why, but I did. This is another one. I don't know exactly how they determine this, but I feel like this is more like kind of opinion based in a way. Like, the back-to-backs are a fact. Like, one team has 16, one team has 13. This is obviously based on factors as you saw, but like, it's a little bit opinion based. I'm not saying they're wrong. Like, Boston, for example, makes sense because we saw they have the fewest back-to-backs. And obviously, them being the championship team from this year, every team is supposed to be worse than them. You know what I mean? So like, their schedule should be easier because they're supposed to be better. You know what I'm saying? So like, it makes sense. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying, like, the back-to-backs are a fact. This is a little bit more, you know, opinion. But the one team that I feel really bad for are the Los Angeles Clippers. I don't know what the statistics are on their toughest schedule. Like, I don't know if they had the toughest schedule last year, you know, based on this. I don't know. But I do know that obviously when they were playing at it's not the Staples Center anymore, but whatever, I'm calling it Staples Center. We will call it Staples Center forever. But when they were playing at the Staples Center, they obviously got last priority on games. So that was already, you know, an issue, which is, you know, part of the reason why they built their own arena. And so like their schedule was always a little funny. But like I feel like they have had the toughest schedule, or one of the toughest schedules, like every year. And again, part of that is due to the fact that like they always had last priority, so they, you know, didn't get everything they wanted when they played in the same arena as the Lakers and stuff like that. So that is a factor as to why their schedule was a little funny, but like I feel like they're always having such a tough schedule. I don't know if that's factual or not. It just feels that way. Like I feel like every time I watch the Clippers, and obviously this is me exaggerating, but every time I watch the Clippers, I feel like they're playing a playoff team. It just feels like, or they're doing a back-to-back against the Celtics and then the Minnesota Timberwolves. Like, I don't know. It just feels like they always get the short end of the stick. So I'm hoping next year that's not the case, because I don't know. I feel like it's a trend. And then we can also see positive residual has the Warriors and the Bulls with the league best in +4 rest advantage games. Now, I don't really get that, because the Bulls were on the list for the fewest back-to-backs, but the Warriors were not. And their name is not on the easiest schedule list, so I'm not really sure how they came to that conclusion. I mean, I know it says rest advantage days, so I guess if I went through the schedule, I guess they would have 4 more rest days than everybody else, so I guess it does make sense. But, all right, good for them. Good for the Bulls, too. I don't know, like, this is nothing really to have an opinion on, but I guess for the Bulls, because they're not contending, doesn't matter. But for the Warriors, this actually might be a big thing, because more rest time for everybody, but especially Steph, that's a good thing. And then the Suns have the worst on rest time, which is kind of unfortunate. And here's a little more on the Clippers, which is what I was kind of referencing. They have 0 afternoon home games this season after having double-digit each of the past 2 years. Because now they have their own building, they are first priority. So again, I feel like part of the reason they've always had just a tough schedule is because they are last priority, or they were. So now they won't be, but they still somehow got stuck with the tough schedule.